Welcome everybody back to Veil of Sound. And yes, you see correctly, no regular video interview today. You get like the experience of an audio interview only. And for a lot of people that will be a bonus because they don't have to look at me. But there is a reason for that. And you have already seen to which band, or at least one member of a band I am talking. I'm very happy to talk to one of the guys from BRIQUEVILLE. So thanks for joining us today.
Hi.
Okay. If that is the amount of letters he is gonna give us for our questions, then this will be a fun thing. No, thank you for joining, and of course,
Thank you for having us.
The reason for which we do not have a video element in this interview is, of course, that BRIQUEVILLE tries to remain anonymous, and of course, we gladly accept that as long as they talk to us.
I will.
Thank you. One thing that, of course, is very interesting when listening to your music is the question of time. And that is something that strikes me whenever I listen to any BRIQUEVILLE song, any BRIQUEVILLE record. How important is time in your music?
I think it's a very, very important piece of our music because we tend to play with it. When we write a song, not that we have a discussion about which part we should use as the most repetitive part, it just comes naturally most of the time, but we do really look for that moment that we can prolong, definitely for a live set. We create records, it's just in a time frame. Then we decide what we're going to use on a live show. And then we start playing with that element of time. For this record, we recorded more than we released because of some elements weren't really finished and didn't really fit in. But to come back to the time fragment, it's really important. We talk about it. With this record, we actually had some conversations about we all lose a lot of time because everything's speeding up. So that's why we went back to our earliest releases to find that sound again, which we can really, really prolong riffs and how to make a piece even longer with just adding a little detail on top of it and make it like 8 bars more. And yeah, it's really important for us that we feel that we can play with it and that we lose ourselves in our show. So we kind of lose track of time ourselves, and that's what we hope to create with the audience and our albums as well. Yeah.
Are there other elements that are really important to BRIQUEVILLE, like tonality, a certain kind of storytelling?
We're not really busy with storytelling. We use our video clips to tell a little story of a figure that always comes back, just to make clear that we're all aging really fast. But I think because of all our different musical roots, really different musical roots, there's only one thing that sticks with everything, and that's we gotta have some noise on the record. Indefinable noise, just a layer underneath or on top that makes everything breathe a little bit more. That's something that always comes back. But we don't have any strict rules around making an actor or a song. It's just an idea that bubbles up. If we like it, we go with it. But we don't really have like 10 points that we say, it's got to sound like this. Of, no, we're leaving our genre. We don't really see our band as a genre band. So we're kind of free. I think the freedom in making the music is an important element, that we feel free to make what we feel like making on that moment, regardless if it's doom or shoe, whatever, or black, doesn't really matter.
You've said that a lot of your tracks, or most of them, have like a layer above or below. Is it just my feeling, or is that level in a lot of the songs on the new record above? Because I always had the feeling as if there was something going on above the sounds that I'm hearing, like a field recording or something.
Yeah. There are a lot of layers, a lot more layers that we use this time. We work with a producer as well in studio who understands us, and this time he really made his effort of putting a lot of layers on top that we didn't ask for, but he put them on. And originally in the mix they were put under everything else, but that didn't really sound good. So with the new mixes that came along, and he just put them more and more on top. So you're absolutely right with hearing that it's more on top of the tracks. Yes, big thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes it's difficult, you know. I mean, like I listened to the record 3 times on headphones, which I think for everybody, if you listen to BRIQUEVILLE, use headphones. I mean, and use good headphones, not the shitty ones that you can buy at Walmart.
No.
Good headphones.
There are a lot of things hidden in the music. So
yes,
yeah, definitely.
And you've already mentioned, you know, like repetition as being key to understanding BRIQUEVILLE. For you yourself, as one single member of a band, is repetitive music also the kind of music that you listen to? Because you've spoken of a variety of musical backgrounds in the band.
I personally am one of the few who listens to metal in general, actually. But just 2 metalheads in the band, actually. But the repetitive parts, as I am the drummer, is it's what I try for, is what I look for, to keep that riff repetitive without like really copying something 10 minutes in a row, just with a small adjustment here and there, just a snare on a different location, or this dynamics. That's how I stretch and how I like to stretch. And yeah, I listen to a lot of repetitive music. Now it's a little bit less. I'm getting a bit older, so my musical taste is getting broader. But yeah, I really like repetitive music. I used to listen to a lot of drum and bass as well, so that's kind of repetitive all night long, and it got boring for me. Yeah, definitely. I'm also a big fan of bands of our label, of course, that use also the element of repetition, like Savor, I don't know how to pronounce it. That's also a band that uses that element, and I really enjoy that record. So I feel, and I've noticed that I'm still not bored with the idea of repetition and repetitive riffs over and over again.
Yeah. What is also striking about BRIQUEVILLE's sound is that it is clearly, in a certain way, doom. It's also a lot of other things, but it's also in a way doom. But to me, it never has this kind of distinctive Western Hemisphere / American doom sound like Bellwitch or Sun. Is it important for you not to sound like others? And if you do doom, then it must have a little twist?
We don't really think about it like that. We know those bands. We are all fans of Sun for years in a row. But it's almost impossible for us to stay within the boundaries of a genre, because we just all have different musical tastes. Like I said before, like only 2 metalheads really true metalheads in the band. So that makes when the guitar player plays a doom riff because he grew up with Black Sabbath, the other one who's got a jazz background will never play that thing on the doom riff that's going to make it sound more doomy. So it's not like we really think about, oh, we should change this part because it sounds too doomy or just too much like that band. It just never really kicks through the true doomy sound. On the first record that's unavailable, you can listen to it on Bandcamp. There's one track on there where we stayed through between, I don't know what it's called. That we stay through to a genre, but that's also a track that we don't really like playing anymore because of that thing that we stay through. We would like to put in other elements all the time, especially when the keyboards part got bigger on our album. Since Kel, we used more keyboards. It's obvious that we just don't want to stay true to just one genre and playing that.
Yeah. When I listened to the new record, I found myself thinking, "Ooh, that is," I don't want to say accessible, because a lot of people would still not call BRIQUEVILLE's music accessible, but there are moments on the new record where I think it's all in all a tiny bit lighter. It's not as
Definitely
pitch black. There are moments of a small blackish gray in between.
Yeah.
Then the question is, you know, before BRIQUEVILLE's sound was very, in a way, apocalyptic, heavy. Is there now a little hope in your music? A little light?
There's I agree that there's a little bit more light on this record. If we added the musical pieces that we didn't add, it would be a different record. It would be a darker record.
Okay.
But it just didn't fit in between the songs we put on it. Plus, we recorded this in May 2022. So we've been writing on it for almost a year. And it was just after the whole COVID crisis thing.
Yeah.
So the mental state in the band after releasing a record in the COVID crisis and saw it implode a little bit, we didn't really get to play a lot. That kind of made the music that we put on that record sound a little bit more hopeful, is what we say ourselves. But we let in riffs that we normally wouldn't really do. The melancholy part is bigger.
Yeah.
And we let it happen. And we also put an almost acoustic song on this album. We've done it before for little teasers or an intro for a show, but this time we said, okay, we're gonna put it on the record. And I think that whole mixture made it a lighter record. But then we didn't really intentionally write a softer record. It just happened that the 5 songs on that album fitted together, and the most heavy one, which we gonna play live, didn't make the record. Otherwise, it would have been a different record.
If I give you 3 nouns and you have to choose one of them to describe the mood which goes through the record for you, which one would it be? Melancholy, sadness, or despair?
With this record or in total?
Yeah, with this record.
Melancholy, actually. Yeah. Much more melancholy.
Would you
if I
say
go back in time, I think. Yeah, sorry.
Would you say that this is the COVID crisis in, like, slowly creeping into the music? The melancholy of, okay, I cannot go outside, we cannot do this, we cannot play live. Is that a little bit of that?
That could be, but that's a question I can't really answer because I'm the wrong guy.
No problem. That is okay.
I don't know. I don't really know. I know the feeling when we entered the studio was really different than the last times. We were all a little bit more quiet, a little bit more to ourselves. So yeah, could be.
Do the band members live close to each other, or are you spread? Without saying who lives where.
Now we're kind of spread. We still live in this small region in the small part of Flanders. I think we all live like 10 to 15 kilometers from each other. Okay. For us Flemish people, that's a distance. To other people in the world, that's just ignorable. Just you go to groceries in 15 kilometers. So, but now we're kind of spread out. Yeah, we're all family men. So we're all building our lives at different places, but we still come together in the same spot. We don't rehearse anymore at the original place where the sound became real and the story started, because we've been doing this for 14 years now. So we kind of moved to a professional location to make music. no mold on the walls, and real fine, safe electricity.
Maybe that's the reason why it's melancholy and not despair. Maybe that's the reason why it's a little lighter and not pitch black. Just joking. Something that for me adds to this little bit of hope on the record is the fact that it's also somewhat shorter than the other records. Is that only because the other stuff that you wrote and recorded didn't fit?
Yeah, it's as simple as that. We had a song of about, I think, 12 minutes, but it was too harsh, didn't fit. So yeah, that's the reason. It's only, I think it's 40 minutes, not even, I think 38.
Not even 40.
39,
something in the 30s, right?
But when we listen, not even. Yeah. When we listened to it ourselves, we all agreed that the story that you could tell with these songs had been told at the end of the record. So it's like, okay, this is going to be a shorter one.
Totally fine.
But
you've already mentioned it. You've already mentioned it. Your tracks in themselves are already even, some kind of anonymous because they don't have real track titles. They're just numbers. Is that again something for you? Like everybody should listen to this song on its own, on everyone's own experience. You don't want to give too much away.
Actually, we played in bands before with song titles, and we had a vocalist who sang lyrics. Now it all was different, so we just decided to not give a song a title because we don't want to I don't know how to say it, feed the people too much ideas of what they should think or feel with the BRIQUEVILLE song. We do see our last two records as one big story or voyage through that sound. So but the numbering just came naturally for us. We didn't really had a discussion about it. It was just, okay, we're going to write songs. The first song is going to be the first song. Sometimes, I must admit, in the studio, we get all mixed up with the numbers. Because when we write the songs, we continue. So when we write song 16, that might not be song 16 on the record. So when we're having discussions in the studio, we really have to play a piece of the part and then go, okay, that's number 16. No, it's the new 18. Okay, something like that. But no, it's just because we don't really use a lot of lyrics. So for us, it's natural that we don't take song titles. And the numbering, it looks really good on a record.
It does. It definitely does. But there is no concept behind it, like no final number or something like that.
I personally have been dreaming of doing all the acts and by number in one big show, but I think I'm the only one with that idea. So that's the only one. Oh, sorry.
But
no big concept behind it. Just the man who made the whole concept of the band and the look and the numbering. Sadly, he had to leave the band, but he works in graphics. And he said, this looks really nice, so we're going to do it this way. And we all nodded and said, yes.
What is interesting is that you are one of a few anonymous collectives that also perform live. Are you not afraid of ever being dragged into the open by a freaky fan who tears off a mask or something like that?
Oh, no. In the beginning, it was really strict. We how do you say it? We shot ourselves in our own foot by being so strict. So we had, in the beginning, when we arrived at the venue, for example, we were masked the whole time. We demanded a separate dressing room. But after a couple of years, you don't make any friends by doing that. Not with bands, not with organizers, not with anybody. The fans, they loved it in the beginning. Nowadays, it's kind of difficult. That kind of different. Now when we arrive, it's just ourselves. when we put our gear up on stage, we're just ourselves. People have been taking photographs of our faces, but nobody knows that it's us. So when a show is finished, we used to not sell our own records. Now it's two of the band, me and another one. We'll go downstairs and sell the records, and we talk to people. But when we do like press things or everything that goes outside a show, it's always masked or anonymous, just to keep that little tad of secrecy with us. So if you want to see our real faces, come early to a show and you will see us walk around. We are just being ourselves. But it was too difficult to continue with the whole secrecy thing. In Belgium, it's okay, but when you go to Holland, then they say if you wear a mask here on the streets, you will get beaten. You don't wear that mask on the street then anymore. Nope.
Of course, I mean, like, one bonus of an anonymous collective could be that, you know, there might be different people on stage. So is it always the same group of people performing the live shows?
No. That's quite impossible. I already told you, we're all family men. We have our backup. We have our backup musicians that fill in for the others if there's a kid born or somebody's gone for 2 months. But I have to admit, there's only one that has never been replaced, and it's been me.
So you never should get a kid.
Yeah. But we have a few people that fill in. Yeah. When an original member who made the whole graphic idea left, then we replaced him by a musician that did a lot of times. He filled in for somebody else, so he's now a member. So we have one less musician that can do that job of filling in for somebody else. But no, it's not every time.
You should always be careful not to play 2 gigs at the same time, right?
We've been fantasizing about that. Doing a release show at two totally different spots on the same time. But we can't find 5 other crazy people who want to walk on stage like that. So, yeah.
And then the question is, where are the real BRIQUEVILLE guys? Or just mingle, you know, like 2 of you play there, 3. Yeah.
We were fantasizing with the idea about just staying at home then and watching our own show for once. Just maybe we should enjoy it.
Or stand in the audience and then be like, boo.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I'm going to take it to the guys later on tonight to the rehearsal.
And the other thing is that is, of course, interesting. You perform in costumes that look a little bit like early modern plague doctors. Is that just a coincidence, or is it a willful choice?
It's a coincidence, I think. If you mean the masks, the bata masks, that we have talked about that part, but the capes in the beginning, luckily there are not too many pictures you can find. We actually had those little capes that you can buy in where you can buy stuff for carnival. And if you hold them to the light, it was really ridiculous. So we asked a tailor that we know to make tailor-made capes, and he came up with this idea. In the beginning, we got a lot of comments, and it looks like the Nazgul. It will always look like something you know if you listen to metal and you watch dark movies. But the masks, it was really it was really a choice, because it had a little story to it as well. They're called Bauta masks. It's the typical Venice mask, and they also call it a Casanova mask. And the only reason for that is because of the side like this. You can smoke and drink underneath. Otherwise, it's impossible. And we like to drink a glass of wine once in a while, or smoke a cigarette before or after a show.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, kids. So that makes it easier, and it looks cool. So
it definitely looks cool. I mean, like we've already talked about the anonymity for you and all of that, but it's interesting because at the moment, I think that there are quite a few bands who do that, at least on stage. I mean, like we got your fellow Belgians in Wyatt E. We got Sleep Token, Coldostro, Non-Servium, Sleepwalker, and I'm not even thinking too hard on this one. Do you think that there is a certain movement for music to become anonymous?
I don't know about a movement, but I can relate to other people in other genre using masks, because what it does to me and to the other guys is we feel more free on stage with that mask on than without. The person you see playing is really extrovert. I give an example, while in real life we're totally different. And I think in other genres that's also a welcome factor. I think if a DJ is really shy, he puts on a mask and he can be whatever he wants to be, and he can sell his music better like that. I think it's an obvious choice and go for the anonymity.
And of course, it's also a great selling point.
Yeah. It put us on the map as well. So
in a little bit, in a little way, right?
in a little way.
When looking at the new record, 4, it has a cover that is, I don't want to say unusual for BRIQUEVILLE, but it's a little different, because basically it's just 4 black kind of fingers that are reaching down. Again, it's a break from tradition, because a lot of the other earlier BRIQUEVILLE covers had either like bones or a certain kind of grayish element, apart from that live record that you did. And there was also always something natural on it. A person's back, somewhere in the background was a forest, but this time it's just gray and 4 black fingers. How did that come about? And is there any significant meaning behind it?
Yeah, the reason he's got 4 fingers is it's the 4th album, of course. We do all our artwork and video clips ourselves all the time. So we have this one guy in the band who's a really good photographer and cameraman. It's his hand. He had this idea in his head while we were recording, by just a small, a burnt hand. It's supposed to be a burnt hand. We made it with clay. But the reason why there's 4 fingers on this is a 4 record. But I think he chose this. I'm gonna speak out of my book, outside my comfort zone. I think he chose this because he felt like this was a record that needed a softer cover than we used. We got the Bones record, that's a hard cover. Then we have the back of it's actually the actor that we always use. Is a damaged back with dirty nails. And I think this time he was just like, okay, I want to make a beautiful picture that's a little bit uncomfortable, just like the record is. It's like, there's more beauty on the record, but it leaves you with a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling sometimes. Yeah, so I think he meant that one. But I agree, it's a different cover, but it works really fine.
It definitely does. Yeah, in general, definitely. That's something that's always the case with your covers. I think they work really well with the music. And I mean, of course, as you explained, if one of the band members does them, then that explains that close connection, of course. You also, once again, have lyrics or vocals on some parts. Now, the question is, you say that very often it comes like intuitively to you. Is that also the same with the lyrics? Do they also, and the spots, do they also come intuitively for you?
No, with this record, I can remember in the studio that we realized there's only one really sang piece on the record. The rest is just repetition of the word time. He really had to go and sit in another room and think for a couple of hours what he was going to say. So yeah, he really struggled a little bit with how should I explain something that's so big about loss of time, the disconnection of responsibility, all those things in just 8 bars of lyrics. So yeah, it was not natural at all, but he really did his best. And all the other vocal parts, that's also new. We didn't really use any sampled vocals anymore. It's all the guy doing, it's there on the spot. A lot of it was improvisation in the studio, and then our producer took it, put it in a nice sauce, and put it on the record. So yeah, he really had his time to think about the lyrics this time.
Now, question, you have already mentioned the producer. 2 or 3 times. I mean, like, of course, you probably have worked with him before, and of course, he's not somebody in the band, but is he someone where you say, like, okay, he's as close to understanding us as possible?
For the last 3 records, we worked with the same guy. He's also a musician of a band that we like, and he really understands where we want to go. When we explain, like, we want to do an acoustic song, it's just a one riff acoustic song, but we wanted to make it feel uneasy, and then that's all he needs. So he decided, okay, I'm gonna take some feedback, put it on. So yeah, it's like our sound guy and the guy who produces are like a team always when they record. So yeah, he's really close to the band. In the future, we don't know what's gonna happen, but yeah, he's really close to the band. When we record, in between, we never talk or see each other. It's yeah, really different personalities, but in the studio we get along, and he knows what we mean when we say something. So we don't have to explain everything over and over again.
Yeah, which is probably very important. Yeah. How must we in generally imagine or envision the songwriting process for Briqueville? Do you guys get together? Do you jam? Or is there somebody who comes along with, okay, let's say I have an idea, let's work on this one, and the others are like adding?
It's 50-50. 50-50, actually. We have one guitar player that brings on a riff. That happens sometimes. We jam a lot, really a lot. We have hours and hours and hours of outtakes, of jamming, just spinning around that one idea for like 15 minutes, half an hour, and we distill from that a little piece. Yeah. We don't have anybody who enters and I'm finished with the new record, here it is, you guys should play this. Nothing like that. We've been knowing each other for more than 20 years, so there's no real hierarchy in the band. Yeah. We just jam on ideas most of the time.
And do you then also record the stuff that you jam, or do you later like think about, okay, which parts did we like?
Oh, there's always an iPhone rolling when we jam. Yeah, we don't have like the whole mic thing and the setup, but we all have a phone with it.
So to get this done again, so when you write, you basically record at the same time.
Yeah, when we jam, there's always somebody recording. If we forget to record, which happens sometimes, then luckily there's always somebody who says, oh, wait a minute, this was a great idea, we should record this. Like, let's take 2 minutes, just maybe record that one riff or that one note that we need. There's always something left after rehearsal. We never get together and just go home again with nothing recorded. We're always recording something.
Oh, so is that also like a goal that you go home and can say, okay, we got a new part, or we got...
No, actually, no, we're quite free in this. We don't really give ourselves like a lot of deadlines. We just see what happens. Some, like the 3rd song, I think, on the album, I think we got like 15 different versions of that one. And other songs, it's like for the first time we jam it, it's okay. Like, I think number 10 on the previous record is an example of us just copying that jam we made that one time. So it's really different. That really depends on a piece. Maybe it's just good from the first time. Sometimes we spend a lot of time on it. But we don't really push ourselves to have something at the end of that 2 hours we're together. Sometimes we just discuss other things about life and we don't play at all. It's also important.
Would you say that one of the important things for you as band members of a band is that it's also some kind of friends thing, you know, that you still, as you said, like you sometimes don't even play?
Yeah, when we don't see each other, but because we're all we're all fathers, we all have things to do. Sometimes we don't see each other for months when we don't have any shows and we don't rehearse and everybody's doing their thing. Then we really need to sit down and talk first. That's something I feel. some of the guys in the band I've been playing with for more than 20 years. So we have been friends. We have been foes. We've been friends again. It's like sometimes it's like a family, more like a family, I think, of nephews who come together. When sometimes we get along, sometimes a little less. But I cannot imagine not playing music with those guys. We don't really, where we're from, we don't really have a scene of a lot of musicians, especially in our genre. So if somebody would say it's over, then it's really over.
Okay.
So if we use up our substitute musicians, it's over. So yeah,
okay.
it's like a family.
Yeah, but that's also something that I can imagine, you know, like if you make that kind of music, you got to work with people that you know, that are skilled, and that you like, you know, because it's not happy-go-lightly music, and therefore, of course, you need people also as some kind of feedback for you. Last thing, and that is always something that a lot of people have problems with, but I think you being a skilled musician, somebody who listens to a lot of music, if you could take, let's say, 3 or 4 bands on tour, and BRIQUEVILLE would be the headliner, which 3 or 4 bands would you take?
I wish I could. One moment.
Of course.
Is it a question just for me, the ideal setup in a genre, or just a mini festival?
For you.
For me personally?
Yes.
I would love to share a stage once with a Spanish black metal band called Alterage or Alterage. I don't know how it's pronounced. They're from Bilbao, and they have a real unique sound within a genre that has got really a lot of bands. So that's one, Alterage.
They also put out a new record recently, didn't they?
If I can go back into yes, worst case scenario. Yes, I ordered it, but they just let me know that it's delayed. So I forgive them for being so brutal. We shared a stage once, and I would be delighted if they would play again. But sounds so silly. Godspeed You Black Emperor has been a huge influence for us all, and we've been listening to it for years. So that would be nice. Would be strange to headline after Godspeed, of course, and a little bit disrespectful. And for the last one, I would like, we did this mini tour with the guys from LLNN and the Ocean a while ago, and I really enjoyed every night watching LLNN tear down the walls. So that would be a really delight to have them join.
Yeah, I was at one of those shows in Nuremberg, and it was one of the shittiest sound systems that I've ever heard.
Okay.
But the music was cool, but the sound system was like, really? Come on. But yeah, that was a cool lineup. That's definitely, that was a very good lineup. So which of those two would you be taking, LLNN or The Ocean?
I think LLNN. Because I like really brutal music. I've been a big fan of The Ocean for years, but they're going into a direction with less, I have to be careful what I say right now, less interesting for me.
Yeah, you got to be careful, you know, bosses listening.
Yeah.
So, first of all, thanks for all the answers. But, you know, nobody leaves this interview or any interview with us without having to go through the quickfire round. So I have a few couples lined up for you. You have to decide which one you like more and maybe give a short explanation. Let's start off with producers. And let's think big. Who would you rather work with, Steve Albini or Rick Rubin?
Steve Albini. Do you have to explain why, or just say Steve Albini?
A short explanation, yes.
Yeah. He's been there for so long. I've been listening to so many productions of his hand that it's really ridiculous not wanting to work with him. Yeah, I thank Rick Rubin for Slayer, but that's about it.
Oh, there are some hip hop things. There are some hip hop things that he did that I really like, but I know what you mean. You once in one of our answers slightly included shoegaze, and I'm not sure if you, as a band member, are the right band member to ask, but two shoegaze icons: Slowdive versus My Bloody Valentine.
My Bloody Valentine. Louder than all.
Although the new Slowdive record is really good. Really.
I will check it out then.
Yeah. Bellwitch or Sun?
Oh, jeez. Sun. Yeah.
If anybody wants
to, drummer. I love it.
If anybody wants to know a little bit more about Sun or Bellwitch, check our archives. We have interviews with both bands. Killing Joke or 9 Inch Nails?
Killing Joke.
Ooh, I would have thought you said 9 Inch Nails. Why Killing Joke?
There's some records, records. Not all. Not the really old stuff. I have difficulties with new wave, so the really old stuff is not my thing. But yeah, I used to have this one record of Killing Joke where Dave Grohl played the drums. And I'm still a bigger fan of that record. And 9 Inch Nails, I kind of missed that, so I don't really know a lot of music of 9 Inch Nails. But yeah, not my thing. Not sorry.
One of the infamous splits that Pelagic Record has put out, one of them is Mono versus The Ocean. Which band would you rather listen to right now? Because of course they're both great. You can both listen to all of them all the time. So, but right now, which one would you choose, Mono or The Ocean?
The Ocean. Yeah. More variety.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, you got to now say something positive before Robin kicks you off a roster.
Definitely,
right?
definitely.
We all love you, Robin. Thank you very much. You've been speaking about extreme metal, and I'm very sure you know both of these. Beherit versus Bathory.
Bathory. Yeah.
Neurosis versus ISIS.
Sorry, no, the last one, the line was a little bit...
Neurosis versus ISIS.
Neurosis. Yeah.
Any particular record of theirs that you like most?
I still, to this day, am in love with Times of Grace. I can't get bored with that record. That opened everything for me. I think it's one of the best albums of Neurosis and also in the genre. But they did on that record, and it's also a Steve Albini production. So
it is. You've mentioned that one of you is a jazz guy, so maybe he taught you a little jazz. Miles Davis versus John Coltrane.
Miles Davis.
Any reason for that choice?
I'm not a free jazz fan, so John Coltrane is quite difficult. And I think they're both not unholy by using substances, but I think Miles Davis came out of it quite good, and John Coltrane kind of missed the train back to normal. Yeah. So yeah. Although I prefer saxophone as a jazz instrument by sound, but I would go for Miles Davis.
One of my favorite Belgian bands who are not anonymous, Alkerdeel. Which record do you prefer, Lede or Slonk?
The last one is called Slonk, I think. Huh?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I like the last one. Yeah, definitely. Also, the use of the song titles, I think it's when you're from this region, it's just like it's a dialect word for water and fire, so it's really fun. And when I had the chance to see them play live a couple of times, I think live they're like huge sound. Even in a small place with a bad PA, they sound terrifying.
Yeah. Terrifying is a very good description for what Jeroen and his guys do on stage. That's definitely a good one. And you've mentioned your love for Godspeed You Black Emperor. Two albums, and you have to choose between Lift Your Fists Like Blah Blah Blah, like Antennas to the Heavens, or Slow Riot for New Zero Canada.
I have to go look. I don't know that. The last one.
Slow Riot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is the reason for that choice?
Because it's the first one I see in my on my shelf, and I always know that's the one I'll be listening to a lot lately. So that's the one.
Yeah, and it's also the earlier one in the discography, right? Yeah. So thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for the patience and for the very detailed answers. For everybody, when this interview comes out, the record will have been released for a few days. If you haven't gotten a chance to listen to the new BRIQUEVILLE record 4, do so. Maybe also listen to their older stuff so that you see where the slightly nuanced differences are. And of course, there will be a Bandcamp Friday coming up in December, in January. So go buy the record and enjoy what the guys do, if possible, on stage. If you enjoy what we do here at the Veil of Sound, then maybe give us a little subscription on YouTube, follow us on Spotify. You can also follow us on our socials, on Instagram, on Facebook. And if you like us a little bit more, well, then check out our website to find out how you can support us via Patreon. Also always welcome. And now for our BRIQUEVILLE member, your chance for final last words.
I'd first like to thank you for finding us and giving us the chance to talk for the first time to people and lifting the veil a little bit.
Did you just say first?
This is the first audio interview we ever did, actually. Woo! Yeah. Only written. Yes, you're the one. So yeah, listen to what he said. Go and listen to our records and the previous ones, and hopefully we can see you lose your mind in a venue somewhere. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friend.
I will. Thank you.
Bye-bye.